There we go. So welcome to the May 9th, 2004 Healthy Ulster Council meeting. So delighted to see everyone. I want to introduce myself. I'm Melinda Herzog. If you don't know me, I'm the Healthy Communities Program Leader at Cornell Cooperative Extension of Ulster County. And I have two co-hosts. I would like for them to introduce themselves. Stacy.
Hello, Stacy Kraft, Public Health Education Coordinator here at the Ulster County Department of Health.
And Ninette.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ninette Warner. I'm also at Cornell Cooperative Extension of Ulster County, and I am the Creating Healthy Schools and Communities School Coordinator.
Awesome. Thank you both for agreeing to be co-hosts. I want to remind everyone that the meeting today is being recorded and you can view it on our website, and I will share that link with you a little bit later. A little housekeeping: if you haven't been to a meeting before, please say hello by typing your name and organization in the chat box. That also helps us in getting attendance and lets everyone see who you are and where you're from. And please stay muted through the presentations, and we will take questions in the chat after the presentations, and I'll read them and we'll get answers to all of your questions. We have two really dynamic presentations today. Just looking at our agenda so you have an idea, we've got presentation number 1, Rethinking Our Waste, presentation number 2, Lung Force Turquoise Takeover and Lung Cancer Action Week, and then we have our usual stretch break, and then we'll start our facilitated networking session, which, everyone unmutes, turns their cameras on, and shares some things that they want to share about their programs. So I want to first introduce our first presenter, Angelina Brandt. She's the Director of Sustainability at the Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency, also known as UCRA. And I will let her take over and share her screen and get us started with our first presentation, which will be awesome. I have so many questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Melinda, for the invitation to join. Really excited to be here with the Healthy Ulster community and speak to you about the Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency. As Melinda mentioned, my name is Angelina Brandt, and I have the immense pleasure of working at UCRRA as the Director of Sustainability, where I lead the organization's recycling outreach team and coordinate many waste sustainability programs. And also, I'm a volunteer coordinator with our new Master Composter, Master Recycler volunteer training program. So it's a great pleasure of mine to fulfill my career with helping my community in this way. Trained, believe it or not, in waste management technologies in my academic career that landed me to move right back home here to Ulster County and implement some waste sustainability programs for my local community. So that's brought me a lot of joy. Great to connect with you. And in today's presentation, I'll be introducing you to some background about our organization, UCRRA, and how the local solid waste system works here in Ulster County. We'll discuss how to recycle and how to compost locally, as well as some other special disposal programs for sensitive materials like electronics, paints, and chemicals. Now, I prepared quite a bit of content here to introduce to you, so I'd like to jump right in and just note that it's my understanding we will observe a Q&A period at the very end, and I really look forward to your questions. And I did have a little video here to share, but I'd like to provide that if you'd like to watch it after the presentation, so you can then see what some of these facilities look like. But for now, I'm just going to speak to who is UCRRA. We've been proudly serving Ulster County with our mission for over 30 years. And our mission is to protect public health and the environment and promote sustainable materials management by managing Ulster County's waste with a focus on resource conservation. So the UCRRA is a public authority and a solid waste public authority and a public benefit corporation. And public authorities manage some of New York's most important infrastructure, right? Public authorities can oversee highways and bridges. They can oversee and regulate water usage or electricity usage. So the UCRRA is an authority that manages waste. and created in 1986 by the state legislature. Our purpose and our existence is to develop, finance, implement, and sustain solid waste management programs in our service area, which is on behalf of Ulster County. And in pursuit of that mission, we operate 2 New York State DEC permitted solid waste facilities. One that you're viewing on the left is in the town of Ulster, and the image on the right is in the town of New Paltz. And these are kind of aerial photos to show you some of the different services that we have going on at these sites. In New Paltz, that is primarily just a solid waste receiving facility. But at our facility in the town of Ulster, we have a materials recovery facility, or a MRF, which is a fancy way of saying a recycling center. We also have an organics recovery facility, which is a fancy way of saying a composting operation. And we also receive municipal solid waste and maintain some various equipment and vehicles at that site. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about the flow of material into this, into our care through these facilities. Back in 2012, the Ulster County Legislature enacted a law called flow control. And the flow control law provides that all municipal solid waste, what we would think of as soft trash or bagged garbage, all municipal solid waste must flow into our facilities and into our care so that the organization can manage and finance and plan for its sanitary final disposal, which is at a sanitary landfill located in Seneca Falls, New York. For most people, our relationship to waste is very limited. We're almost conditioned not to think very much about our solid waste that we create. And even the language that we use to describe garbage, right, is to throw something away or to take the trash out. And I think some of that signals our disassociation as a society of how much waste we're making and that it is probably someone else's chore or problem to deal with, right? But waste generation, what it really is a pattern of different behaviors and decisions that we make, typically choices around the things that we are buying and the types of products that we're buying or things that we're getting rid of, right? Really, when we think about what waste actually is, or just things we no longer want or have a use for. It could be old clothing, old broken appliances, empty packaging, scraps of food. So we can manage a lot of this waste much more sustainably. But in order to do that, we really need people everywhere to focus on this concept of source separating their waste instead of throwing everything all into one container, really making choices about better options for the end of that object's life, because often things we throw away have much better uses, much more sustainable uses. And the average American generates about 4.5 pounds of garbage per day, which may not sound like a lot, but that's 1,600 pounds of garbage a year, which I looked up is the equivalent weight of 3 grizzly bears. So much of that waste, as I mentioned, could be recycled, composted, or even avoided before it ever even enters your life. So as part of our process, these are some photos of our facility. In Ulster County, all the municipal solid waste is consolidated into large tractor trailers, which is the image on the right. And then they're exported, I mentioned, for final disposal at a sanitary landfill. The Seneca Meadows landfill is one of the largest permitted facilities operating in New York State. There's some information here on this slide about some of their sustainability initiatives, but it's a sanitary landfill, meaning that it is completely lined with various types of natural and synthetic materials so that all of the waste that's buried is contained. And what I will say is that landfills today are are built by engineers and scientists, and they're very highly regulated facilities. They are not like the landfills of yesteryear, where everything was just kind of dumped into a pile and there was no lining. So that's what I mean when I describe a sanitary landfill. And it has all of those mechanisms in place. And this facility operates under 50 different permits. So it's a very highly regulated practice to protect public health and the natural resources. So last year in 2023, our organization managed the final disposal of approximately 106,000 tons of municipal solid waste and 35,000 tons of construction and demolition debris that required disposal. And that equates to about 15 of these tractor trailer transport trips every day that we're open. And we're open 6 days a week. Each of these tractor trailers makes a long journey to this landfill. It's about 500 miles round trip and consumes about 95 gallons of diesel round trip. So just to give you a kind of a concept of how much of a heavy lift, pun intended, this is to make sure that the waste is moving and able to reach its final destination in a sanitary manner. Our organization has about a $16 million annual budget, and the vast majority of that is just ensuring the disposal of Ulster County's waste. And it's been calculated that this operation is about 4% of the county's greenhouse gas emissions inventory. So, I share all of this just again to raise awareness about what happens to our waste, where it goes, and the true impact that collectively we can all make through better choices around recycling, composting, and trying to minimize waste disposal as much as possible. And our organization is very, very interested in what that means to people at all levels. So whether we talk with residents, business owners, municipalities, nonprofits, activists, we're really engaged in trying to reduce the amount of waste that requires disposal locally. So now that I've gotten all that out of the way, hopefully I haven't totally depressed you all. I'd love to tell you about our waste sustainability story and the successes that we have at UCRRA. So just last year, we diverted over 2.8 million pounds of material from going to the landfill. And that diversion program of actually removing things that shouldn't be in the garbage includes things like scrap metal, tires, electronics that didn't make it to the right drop off day, even things like devices that contain refrigerant, fluorescent light bulbs, clean wood, all of those items we remove from the trash to the greatest extent that we can. At our recycling center, we recycled over 11.7 million pounds last year. Also almost 300,000 pounds of electronic devices, and composted over 20 million pounds of natural materials like food scraps or food waste, and other types of municipal yard waste and brush and things like that. So this is just a little bit to tell you about our story and our vision for how much more we can do with everyone kind of coming on board. So now I'm going to speak about recycling in Ulster County. Recycling is mandatory. We have a source separation law that requires all persons to recycle, whether you're a apartment complex or a school or just an average citizen, or in a public space or at a street festival in your town. Recycling should be happening. And if it's not, we would like to be aware of that so we can investigate it. And in our recycling law, we have what's called regulated recyclables. So that means everyone is required to recycle certain things like bottles, cans, jars, cardboard, paper, etc. And there are many different ways to recycle. So now I'm going to explain the difference between curbside pickup and municipal drop-off. Most people probably have curbside pickup, where you've hired a company to come and pick up your recyclables and your trash according to their schedule. And this is primarily single stream recycling, which is when all different recyclables can be commingled and mixed together in the same bin. So single stream recycling is processed either by that company or delivered to a recycling center that can then separate out everything once it's been mixed together. The only exception to this is if you live in the city of Kingston, you do have curbside pickup, but it's a municipal program. So the city picks up, and that is dual stream recycling. So dual stream recycling is when recyclable materials must be separated into specific categories. So that could be all of your containers together, and then all of your mixed paper and cardboard together. So there's dual streams. There's more than one, bin. And that's the same process at our municipal drop-off centers. So each municipality in Ulster County operates a municipal recycling drop-off center, or more informally referred to as a town transfer station. And here, residents can purchase an annual permit card, and then throughout the year, they can just self-deliver their trash and their recyclables to these facilities, where they often offer many other recycling programs for other items like scrap metal or tires or electronics. So please take advantage of that. If you're not aware of it, we have a list on our website where you could either find a curbside hauler, or you could find your local town transfer station. And I want to make a distinction here that recycling guidelines and what you can actually put in your recycling bin can vary significantly. And that depends on a lot of different factors. In fact, we have a Recycle Right class that's an hour-and-a-half long class that dives really deep into recycling and all the nuances with why it's so complicated. So if you're interested in that topic, stay connected with us. But at our facility in the town of Ulster, we process dual stream recycling. So in this picture on the left, you can see it's all just containers. Plastic, glass, and metal are all mixed together. And then on the right side, you're seeing that now everything's been completely separated. So that's what happens at a material recovery facility. Recyclables are delivered, and they are consolidated in a big pile, and then they're sorted by a combination of people, workers, and equipment. And the result of all this sorting is separate batches of containers or materials that have similar qualities, or they meet the specifications for the next phase of the recycling process. So that's kind of a new concept that sometimes surprises people, but like recycling centers create commodities, which have value in the manufacturing industry. All this sorted material can then be marketed to other recyclers who can further process the plastic into flakes or fibers, and then they resell those processed materials to a manufacturing company that can actually turn it into new products again. And so I have some quick facts here at the bottom of the page. I won't read all of them, but I'll just guess maybe share the first one. Last year, we recycled 248,000 pounds of plastic water bottles, which is the equivalent weight of 18 school buses. So I'm just always amazed to see the impact of all of this recycling, and a really great joy of mine to welcome community members to come in for a tour. So again, if you're interested to dive deeper, I would invite you to reach out to me if you ever wanted to come and see the facility. I mentioned that recycling guidelines can vary pretty significantly. So what I'm showing you on this slide is the recycling guidelines that would be true for all of those town transfer stations, or any residents of the city of Kingston that have dual stream recycling. And I wanted to emphasize that as an industry, the recycling industry is really moving away from educating people about plastics according to the number system. The number system, or the resin identification code that appears on the bottom of plastic containers, is not a very reliable way of thinking about recycling process that's going to happen. So you'll see on our flyer, we emphasize the shape of the container and would very much like for people to recycle according to the shape of the container. So if it is a bottle, a jug, a jar, or a tub, those are the shapes that are very highly recyclable. And the reasons why, again, are pretty complex, but if you rely on the shape, that is a very, very good indicator that material has good efficacy in its recycling, that it's valuable to other companies that are making new plastic products, um, and that it's going to move through all of the equipment, all the machinery, and not cause any issues. When people put the wrong items in the recycling bin, hoping that they might be recyclable, it's called wish cycling, and it can actually be pretty harmful to the health and the well-being of this recycling industry, because putting the wrong things in your recycling bin can damage equipment. It can seriously injure the sanitation workers that are handling all of these things. It can ruin the value of other recyclables, rendering them less valuable or sometimes rejectable because there's so much garbage mixed in with them. So that makes this whole entire recycling system very inefficient, and can potentially become an environmental justice issue if that plastic is shipped across the globe and then is then rejected and ends up polluting an environmentally sensitive area. So these are just some of the reasons why I like to say wish cycling is a real crime. And if you're not sure what to recycle, when in doubt, find out. Ask. Contact your hauler, visit our website, give us a call on our recycling hotline, or do a Google search for Recycle Right New York, and you'll find a lot of really great recycling tips for no matter where you live. Really, really quick, because I've got just a couple minutes left. Composting in Ulster County is another thing that's really important to us. And composting, I like to say, is recycling's next frontier. We want to get everyone to think about their food like they think about recycling plastic bottles and cans. So there's lots of different ways to participate in recycling. You can compost at home, and we have resources to help you get started with that. Or you can compost at a food scrap drop-off site, which is a pop-up site where you deliver the food scraps that you've collected throughout the week, and then someone else does the composting for you. And there's a variety of different sites in the county. We have all of that on our website. These are just some facts about food waste, which I'll kind of just glaze over really quickly, but you can refer to again. I mentioned we have resources for you. So if you'd like to purchase a compost bin or a rain barrel, we have a sale going on right now. Here's a map of all those food scrap drop-off sites, noting that there are actually 22 sites in Ulster County where you can deliver your food and let someone else do the composting for you. And we operate an industrial scale composting operation. And I like to say we've been turning trash into treasure for over 10 years now. Between 2012 and 2023, we have composted over 63 million pounds of food scraps that, if they were landfilled, would have filled 907 tractor trailer transport trips. Traveling all the way to the landfill would have been 435,000 miles, or enough to drive around the surface of the earth 17 times. So there are significant greenhouse gas reduction impacts locally to diverting more material from that landfill and really processing it locally, because we can transform plant materials back into compost that we then sell to local farmers, landscapers, and gardeners, and is a wonderful way of improving your soil quality and improving local soil health. So over the same 10 years of composting, we have produced over 35 million pounds of compost. So we're really excited about this story and to be able to share this sustainability story with the community about the work we're doing. And I would challenge you to think about composting if you're not already, because we really, like I said, want that to become as commonplace and as present in people's consciousness as issues like plastic pollution and the need to recycle. And I think I was a little overambitious with my slideshow because I need to wrap it up. But what I would say in closing is that so far I've only really talked about recycling and composting, but there's so many other ways that we can transform our society's culture of convenience and our throwaway culture and move more towards a circular economy. And we have a lot of resources on our website to help you find a reuse organization so you can donate gently used items that not only reduces waste, but really makes a difference by helping our neighbors in need. If you have gently used items still in good condition, there's no need to throw them out. You can donate them or shop secondhand. And you can also repair things that are broken before they are tossed. Try refurbishing them. Not only will you save some money, but you maybe will learn a new skill along the way. And we're really fortunate to have a very robust network of repair cafes, which are free pop-up events throughout the county where you can bring your broken but beloved items and have them fixed for free by expert fixers who are also your neighbors. And it's a really fun program. And then there's other things too, right? Like buying in bulk. Or refilling containers. There's a lot of businesses now that participate in that. So I encourage you to visit our website to learn more about all these services. And we have a recyclopedia function. So this is our website right in the upper right-hand corner. You can click that green button and search for recycling guidelines for over 150 items. So flag that for later. It's been my pleasure to speak with you today. Again, I'm sorry I was a little overambitious with all these slides, but I will provide the slides so you can still look through some of this content. And I hope you feel really informed and empowered by the information I brought to share with you today. And really excited to hear some of your questions or what you guys are thinking about the content I shared. Please know I'm always a resource for you. There's my email address. If you ever have any recycling questions or waste questions, I'm happy to help. Thanks again, Melinda, for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, absolutely. That was fascinating. I'm forever interested in garbage and recycling. I can't help myself. And for all of you that are here, we've had many presentations on climate resilience in the last couple of years, and this wraps right into it because, as Angelina pointed out, greenhouse gases that are emitted by solid waste, and particularly food, really has an impact on climate change, and of course the resultant impact of that meets our communities and many of the people that live in it through so many impacts of climate change. Now, we do have some questions. One of Kingston's elementary schools is interested in doing a recycling education campaign for students and staff, as well as starting a composting program. And in what ways can UCRA support schools?
I love that question. So we have a recycling outreach team where myself and a recycling educator and some of our new enrolled volunteers will actually go out into the community, go out into a school, conduct large assemblies or presentations about recycling to engage the student body. But we can also engage with the school at the facilities level to ensure that they're being compliant with the mandatory recycling law. They have resources available to them to acquire different grants and things like that that we can kind of put in front of them and help them think about if they want to start a composting program. We have contact lists of all the different options for them and can really coach them on what the steps are and what the best practices are. And we're currently working with multiple schools across the county. There's a lot of interest in cafeteria composting, which is awesome. I'll also note that this week is Compost Awareness Week internationally. So, yeah, we really try to have a lot of resources for schools in addition to that education, kind of high level consultation services. We also have bin posters and stickers that they can actually use to facilitate better recycling, not only in a school, but that's available for local businesses as well. So, yeah, please put them in touch with me. I would love to explain more about that for them.
Yes, that question came from Ninette Warner, so I'm sure she'll reach out to you.
Awesome. Thank you.
And I'll hog one question. If anybody has questions, do type them in the chat. But I am a guilty of being a wish cycler. I admitted that earlier. And I just want to recycle everything I possibly can to the detriment, I'm sure, of, of recycling. Tell me about paper and things like glossy paper or labels and tags and, little small bits of paper and cardboard. And, how does that work out when it reaches the recycling place?
Sure. I'm happy to speak about paper recycling because it makes up the majority by weight of what we recycle. And I want to say that probably for the average person, 95% of the paper you encounter is recyclable. So I encourage you to recycle as much paper as possible, whether it's glossy paper like magazines, soft cover books can be recycled, junk mail, newspapers, you name it. Like I said, most paper you encounter is recyclable. You don't have to remove staples or plastic windows. You can put all of that into your recycling cart. The real exception there, however, is once we start getting into single-use paper, like food packaging. So a paper coffee cup, a paper plate, a paper straw, soiled paper napkins, a paper boat that maybe you were at the fair and you bought a hot dog or something, right? Those types of single-use food paper items are unfortunately not recyclable, but increasingly becoming compostable. So there's hope for us yet. Does that help answer your question?
Oh, absolutely. Thank
Okay.
you. I won't feel guilty about all the little tiny bits of paper I throw in that pile now. Do we have any other questions? I see
Oh, I
one
see
from
Kathy's
Kathy.
here. Hi, Kathy.
Kathy is sharing.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Yes, I had my little hand up, but I'm not sure it was visible. And I really think this was a fantastic presentation. It's the best I've seen. And I, you know, I, our resource recovery agency has done a great job for quite a while. And I put my hand up when Nanette asked her question in the chat because before I became a county legislator, I was at schools where the resource recovery agency would come in with their information, and the students loved it. And the schools around Ulster County are getting involved in these activities. Moving to composting in addition to recycling, I think, is really important. And I too have struggled with wish cycling. So I put that in the chat. I am very excited about Mark Ryder coming to the UCRRA as the new executive director. And I want to push him and the board there to look into ways we can reuse or recycle materials that are losing their value or have never been recognized to have their value. For example, glass. Glass doesn't bring in enough money anymore to justify recycling it in many ways. Yet it's very amenable to the process of being reused. So I think we should look into ways we can reuse it locally, maybe become an innovator in that space. And there's just a lot of exciting things happening in regard to our RRA and all these efforts. And agree with Melinda completely on how important it is from the health perspective. Greenhouse gases we're going to start seeing more and more difficulties related to warming. And also just this has been one of the things that makes people healthier over the generations, over the centuries, is becoming better at handling our waste. If we do a good job with that, we might be able to separate ourselves from other beings on this planet. No, wait just a second. Almost all of them do a fairly good job with their waste. um, so we might enter into that category of doing a good job with our waste.
Oh, thank you, Kathy. There are two other questions really quickly, Angelina. How clean do containers need to be for recycling? That comes from Joan.
Great question. So a good quick rinse is all that's required, and cleaning your containers nowadays is really more for your comfort as they stockpile up in your kitchen so that you're not having a lot of stinkiness or attracting flies in your recycling bin. And if you recycle with single stream where your containers are mixed with paper, then I'd say maybe a little bit cleaner than just a quick rinse. So you don't want to get any like cat food coming and spoiling all your nice fresh dry paper, right? So a quick rinse is fairly enough. You don't need to run them through the dishwasher or anything like that. I have heard that before from people really wanting to do the right thing. And then I saw another question here about laminated paper.
Yes.
And unfortunately, with the lamination, they're not able to separate that. So that's different than like a plastic window in an envelope. If something's completely laminated, unfortunately, that should be discarded.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It was really informative. Like I said, I could talk about this all day. And I do appreciate all of the information you shared. And Angelina, if you could just once again share your contact information in the chat so people can reach out to you if they have further questions or want more information. Ninette, could you possibly run our poll? We're just going to take a quick, tiny little survey. Just about the presentation, if it was meaningful for you. And just waiting until all 19 of you answer, or 18 of you, and we'll close the poll. This is our method of evaluation for for all of our presentations, and we do this throughout our meeting. Okay, great. Thank you so much. So we're going to go on to our next presentation. Let me just put the screen back up and we'll move to the next one. We did our poll, and I just want to introduce Erica Mason, who is here to talk about Lung Force, Turquoise Takeover, and Lung Cancer Action Week. She is the Executive Director of Metro New York's American Lung Association. And I want to welcome Erica, and I want to say kudos to everyone who wore turquoise today in honor of Turquoise Takeover Week. And that's really hard to say, Turquoise Takeover Week. I'm struggling with that. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let Erica take it away.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me today and allowing me to present in your meeting. I am too very excited by everyone's turquoise. We like to say it's a sea of turquoise. So if it's blue, it counts for us. So much appreciated and looking forward to taking our picture, I think, at the end of my presentation. I'm going to share my screen. I feel like now that I saw that poll, I have a lot of pressure on me for the upcoming poll at the end of my presentation. So at least I can make sure my sound is right. Great. And let me move this over. Sorry, my computer obviously has decided to freeze in this moment. Great. So as Melinda mentioned, I'm here to talk about Lung Force, which is a movement within the American Lung Association. And this week, May 6th through 12th, is our Turquoise Takeover and Lung Cancer Action Week. When you say Turquoise Takeover every day for 3 months, it becomes easier. So just practice makes perfect there. So I wanted to just start by answering maybe your first question, what is Lung Force? So Lung Force was an initiative launched within the American Lung Association 10 years ago in 2014. And when looking at lungs and the work the Lung Association was doing, we realized that there was a gap in our work when it came to lung cancer, both in kind of educating the public about lung cancer, about funding lung cancer research, and about creating an advocacy team that backed lung cancer. And because of all those things, when thinking about lung cancer, it's really fallen behind when looking at treatment and early detection and all these other areas because of the stigma that often goes along with it. So we launched Lung Force as a way to address and tackle lung cancer head on. So our focus again is through education, advocacy, and research, with the goals of this initiative to ensure that fewer people are diagnosed with lung cancer, and those who live with lung cancer are living longer. So about lung cancer, oftentimes, people will say that, I never smoked, therefore I cannot get lung cancer. And that is just not true. And that is the big part of the stigma that the Lung Association is working to break. Lung cancer is actually the leading cause of cancer deaths in the United States amongst men and women. And about 2/3 of people diagnosed with lung cancer are former or never smokers. So a former smoker would be someone who quit 15 plus years ago. And many of those people would self-identify as someone who doesn't smoke anymore and not at a risk of lung cancer. So every 2 minutes, someone will learn that they had this disease. And even though those are pretty scary statistics to start with, there has been a lot of growth and hope over these last 10 years since we launched Lung Force. In particular, the survival rate has increased 37% in the past 10 years. And I always talk about we do a lung health barometer every year. And part of that is us seeing, is lung cancer top of mind? So we ask, people, what, is on your mind in terms of your health? And people will say breast cancer, colon cancer. When we launched Lung Force, the percentage of people who said lung cancer was 1%. So that is basically no one. And so that educational has increased, I think it's 26% now. And that's a huge victory and just shows how much we can continue to grow and educate our communities about lung cancer and lung disease. In addition, in kind of our advocacy and educational component is every November for Lung Cancer Awareness Month, we release a State of Lung Cancer report. So this looks at the toll lung cancer, the disease, takes on each state in the country. And we examine lung cancer, or I should say our research team examines lung cancer in these different areas. So the rates of new cases, survival, so 5-year survival rate, early diagnosis, surgical treatment, lack of treatment, and screening slash prevention in that way. So we also look at lung cancer burden among different racial and ethnic minority groups at both national and state level. So I wanted to just dive in specifically about New York. So unlike some of our other reports, this is our newest national report. So in addition to this, the Lung Association releases our state of tobacco control and our state of the air that are much more well-established, both in our research, but also in states and counties reporting information. So whereas our state of the air, for instance, we can look county by county in pollution, particle pollution, ozone pollution, based on what's reported. For our state of lung cancer, which was launched, we just did our 4th one in November 2023, so it's still relatively new. Our data is state-based, and there are lots of states that still aren't reporting even some of this basic information that luckily here in New York, we do report. So I wanted to talk about some highlights and lowlights, maybe I would call them, in New York, or potential for growth when it comes to lung cancer. And as originally said, this is Lung Cancer Action Week. So I'll definitely leave everyone with some actionable items and how we can address it locally, both in Ulster County, in New York, and nationwide. So looking at these, it's great to see that in all these categories, the state rates average or top. A lot of these are intertwined. So if you think about survival rate is top, it makes sense that early diagnosis is top too, because that obviously impacts your survival rate. Surgical treatment is often only an option in lung cancer when diagnosed early. So if you're not diagnosing people early, the surgical treatment is not an option when it comes to lung cancer. And so when looking at the 5-year survival rate, New York State ranked 3rd amongst the states, and has improved by 22% over the last 5 years since 2017. I wanted to highlight that again because as we talk about our 10th anniversary of Lung Force, some of these big jumps in statistics and rates are really important, not only from a life-saving perspective, but also from an educational and advocacy perspective. And then also, currently 31% of all lung cancer cases in the state of New York are caught in the early stage. So that's really important. And a lot of that has to do with screening. So I have it on another slide, but we have a site called saybythescan.org for lung cancer screening and see if you're eligible for it. It's a really quick 4 to 5 questions, depending on your answers, to see if you're eligible for lung cancer screening or a loved one. And at the end, you can be connected to your closest lung cancer screening center near you to get set up. So to talk quickly about the guidelines to screening, unlike breast cancer, where everyone, a mammogram is at a certain age, there's no other real restrictions around it. Lung cancer screening is still relatively new, even in the 10 years since Lung Force was launched. It's changed, and back in 2021, the guidelines actually expanded. So more people now are eligible than ever before, and yet it's still a pretty small portion of the population. However, even that small portion of the population is not getting screened. And that's because with every type of screening, there's a little anxiety that goes with it and don't want people to do it. But as we can see, any early diagnosis is better for treatment plans and for survival rates. So in order to qualify for lung cancer screening as covered by insurance, you have to be within the age 50 to 80 years old, and you have to have a 20-pack smoking history. So what that means is you smoked 1 pack a day for 20 years, 2 packs a day for 10 years, and so forth. So there is a little mathematical equation that goes along with it. You also have to either be a current or former smoker who quit within the last 15 years. So those are the guidelines. And again, our site, Say by the Skin, will guide you through these questions and tell you if you're eligible or not at the end. In addition to screening, though, one thing that our report doesn't give a score for, but acknowledges is in general about prevention. So when we look at prevention for lung cancer, we think about it in 3 different areas: tobacco, radon, and air pollution. And I wanted to just focus for a second on the radon of it. So radon is an odorless and colorless gas that commonly seeps in through basements, in houses, or in buildings in general. So if you've bought a house recently, usually part of the inspection is getting a radon test and seeing radon levels, although it's not required in the state of New York. And then when looking at that, we look at the state of New York overall, it would rank 15th amongst all states in terms of like percentage of homes that have radon. But I think that is really skewed in that number, which is also why I didn't want to put it up there, because it looks at the state as a whole. And just based on different geographical makeups, radon is naturally higher in some areas. And Ulster County is one of those areas. And so the EPA has an action level for radon. So it's really easy to get a test. They're $18 through the link. And usually during Radon Action Month, which is January, it would be sometimes free through your county or through the state. And so the US EPA has an action level that basically says if you during this test have 4 PCI per L liters of air, you should take corrective measures. So that's getting like a remitigated or fumigated in your basement. According to the EPA, 30 to 39% of basements in Ulster County have above a 4 level of radon. So that's a pretty high number. And if you just kind of cross the border into Dutchess County, theirs is 51 to 86%. And so that just to, I didn't put the map up here, but that's the highest level you could possibly score. There is no 87 to 100% of basements in radon. So we would highly recommend, what we have seen frequently is people buy a home, they check their radon, they live there for 30 years and they never think about it again. And that's just not how it works. So we highly recommend people getting a radon test. I will share the link of how you can do it online. You can also get it at your local like Home Depot or Lowe's. And it's really easy to do on your own, the test part. And if you have a high level, I'll put my information, we can connect you with like a local, we work with Hudson Valley Radon to help people in the Hudson Valley as well. Great. So great, not great. So as I mentioned, this is our 10 years of Lung Force, and I've kind of shared a bunch of statistics that we're really excited to share with our growth, but I wanted to share a little video as well, just to kind of summarize a lot of this. So I tried this earlier, it didn't work, but I'm hoping I fixed the problem. And but please let me know if you can't hear or see the video in a second.
In 2014, Lung Force was launched to defeat the nation's leading cause of cancer deaths, lung cancer. Together, we've made incredible strides. And these efforts are paying off. The 5-year lung cancer survival rate has increased by a significant 52% over the past decade. And since 2016, over 50 new lung cancer treatments have been approved, bringing hope to those living with the disease. But there is still so much to be done. Get involved today at lungforce.org.
I'm assuming it worked for everyone. So
in 2000,
and so we kind of, everyone was asked or to encouraged to wear turquoise here today because it is Turquoise Takeover Week. So in the first week of May every year, which is National Women's Lung Health Week as well, just if you think Turquoise Takeover is a mouthful, that is even more complicated. Say National Women's Lung Health Week. But we work to turn the country turquoise. So we have different illuminations all across the state. So I put in here the Tappan Zee Bridge that was illuminated turquoise last night, as well as 18 other historical and kind of large state monuments, including One World Trade Center, Niagara Falls, and all these areas to wear turquoise. So in addition to doing these big kind of turquoise illuminations, we also do these turquoise takeovers with our communities and schools and hospitals and groups like this to really continue to make sure that lung force and lung cancer is top of mind in our community. So I know I started by saying thank you to everyone for wearing turquoise and for being part of our turquoise takeover. It really makes a huge difference. So ways to take action, turquoise takeovers combined with Lung Cancer Action Week. So as I mentioned, here are some ways that you can take action. One is get screened for lung cancer if you're eligible. I know I listed out the requirements and guidelines there, but also to share with people that you may know whom you think might fit within those guidelines. I will just make one note about that also is if you tell people, ask them, oh, have you been screened for lung cancer? They don't say yes. And the thing with this screening, just like every screening, is that it should be done annually or every 6 months, or based on what the recommendation is after the initial one. So sometimes people think it's a one and done deal. It's not. So definitely encourage people to go again if they haven't. Testing your home for radon. I included this QR code here to get your radon kit. This is specifically for New York. It does vary slightly per state, especially if you live in New Jersey. They have more restrictions on where you should get your radon kit. They also have more requirements on housing, etc. So if you're sending this link to your friend or cousin, you will see a list of states that you can choose from. You're not in New York, but you will not see New Jersey, so they have to go through a different site. Tell Congress to act on lung cancer. I'm going to share a link with everyone of a form to help with our lung force advocacy, to increase funding for research. Wear turquoise, which you did today, so congratulations, already taking action. And then last but certainly not least is to join us at our Lung Force Walk on June 15th. So in addition to wearing turquoise, we have our community engagement events for Lung Force. They're supported in a way to have for people who have lost people to lung cancer and other lung diseases, to recognize our medical community and a area for our lung force heroes, people living with lung disease, to have a community. So we would love to see you all there. It's Saturday, June 15th at Manhattanville College in Purchase. It's a super family-friendly event as well. You already have turquoise, which is great. As you can see from the picture there, that's kind of the spectrum of all the turquoise and blues that fit in there. But it's really family friendly. We have a barbecue, a live band, and the walk is about 2 miles, a loop. So because we work with a lot of people who are living with lung disease, it starts and ends at the same place. So some people just hang out the whole time and don't do the walk as well. So definitely encourage everyone to join. Melinda, I know I sent you these slides, but I also will follow up with some of the links in them too, just to have it separately.
Oh, that's awesome.
Great. I'm going to stop sharing my screen then and see if anyone has questions.
Yeah, if you have questions, please type them in the chat. And I noticed Kathy shared the website where the QR code went, so you can actually grab that right now. This was amazing, and honestly, it was informative to me, just in that lung cancer is the #1 cause of cancer deaths. I actually didn't realize that. That was new. So very, very informative. Does anyone have questions? It was a really great presentation. We have one from Ninette just saying thank you. She'd been looking into purchasing, I just lost the throw there, a radon test, but didn't know which ones were reputable. Yeah, and that was a question I had. Kathy also said, thank you for reminding us about the impacts of radon. Radon tests used to, when you did them in the home, you had to send them out. Now it seems you can just get the results yourself. So that makes radon testing much more accessible for people. And I think, yeah, we just Home Depot or Lowe's or order it online. That's awesome. And Kathy, yes.
Yeah, one of the things that I found out is that if the radon readings are elevated in your home, there actually are things we can do about that too. So venting to prevent the accumulation of the radon in the small contained space is very successful. It does vent it into the larger environment, and we do have some elevated ambient readings in these areas, but it's less than the very high readings you get when you have a contained space. And I would just remind people that back when we were fighting fracking, one of the concerns that I had is that if we were fracturing all of this Marcellus shale, which we know has a lot of radon in it, could we even increase the amount of ambient radon that we had? And certainly there's a lot of radioactive material in cuttings from fracking. So New York State went the right way on that, but I don't want us to forget that we did that for very good reasons. And some of them were particularly acute for us here in Ulster County, which does overlie part of the Marcellus shale. And radon is one of the carcinogenic compounds that people don't think of because it's invisible unless we bring our attention to it. So I really appreciate raising it up so we remember everyone who's here and that we can pass that message on.
Oh, thank you. Any other questions about the presentation that Erica shared? I want to take a moment to honor I still can't say it, Turquoise Takeover Week. You're so good at it. And everyone who's wearing turquoise or blue, let's turn on our cameras. We're going to take a screenshot. So if you put your cameras on and we'll grab that screenshot, and there we go. I got one. And if everybody doesn't mind, it would be great just to do a screenshot of everyone, whether you're wearing blue, turquoise or not. We haven't done that in a while. And it's always good to grab that photo for, just for the group, just to know that we're here. And we're heading into our networking session soon anyway. So it's always great to see everyone's faces. So everyone who's willing to put your camera on, it'd be great. Smile. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. All right, thank you so much. Much appreciated. And Ninette, could you run the poll for me? That'd be terrific. Feels like a game show. Okay. Looks like we're there. I'll end the poll. And there we go.
Melinda?
Yeah.
Do you, I don't know if you post or plan to post the picture of the turquoise wearers or of the group on your social media. Is that okay with everybody? Do people give permission for that to happen if you do that?
Yeah, generally, these photos mostly go, into a report that's shared internally when we do a whole thing. But I did say I would share these photos with Erica so that she could use them that way. And of course, we would love to do that. So I can follow up to if there's anyone who does not want their photo shared, please just reach out to me privately in the chat because we can certainly block your screen.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Melinda. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much. So we're going to move on in our presentation, into networking. But before we do, we generally have a little stretch break because we are the Healthy Ulster Council and we do want to demonstrate and practice healthy meetings. And we've been sitting for a while already. Although I have to admit, today's stretch break is still staying in your chair. Ninette, could you take it away? We're just going to show participate in a 3-minute YouTube sitting in your chair stretching video that everybody can find, and I'll take the time to put the link in the chat so you also have it. Actually, maybe we'll put the link in afterwards just so we don't lose track of the screen.
Join me for a quick, gentle, seated stretch. While sitting in the chair, I want you to go ahead and scoop more towards the front of the chair. Both feet start flat on the ground to start with. And you're just going to alternate lifting one knee in towards your chest and then the other. So little gentle knee hugs. Hug the knee in and then set that leg back down and alternate sides. We'll just do each movement today for about 30 seconds. So it's going to be quick, but it gets you stretched out a little bit, taking a quick break from that sedentary behavior, stretch out the muscles, get the blood flowing a little bit. Let's do one more each side. All right, plant both feet flat on the floor, hands go right above your knees on your thighs. We're gonna do some seated cat-cow. So chest goes out, look up towards to where the wall meets the ceiling, and then opposite, round through that upper back, look down towards the floor. Just alternate between these two movements, chest out, look up, and then round through that upper back, look down. Good, one more each way here. So seated cat-cow. Round through that upper back. If you're trying to separate those shoulder blades, and you can release that stretch. We're gonna come into a dynamic side bend. We're gonna raise that left arm up to the ceiling as we lean to the right. Bring that hand down. Same thing, other side. You're just gonna alternate side to side. Now you reach the arm up and lean. Get that nice stretch down the side of your body. Let's do one more each side. Reach up and over. And last one here. Up and over. Perfect. I want you to grab the bottom of the chair with your right hand. And from here, you're going to drop that left ear down towards the left shoulder. And this is just a static stretch. We'll just hold here for about 30 seconds. All right, so right hand is gripping the bottom of the chair. Another option is to sit on that right hand. You can always take that option if you would like. And that left ear is down towards that left shoulder. Shoulders are down and relaxed. Feel free to close your eyes if it helps you relax into the stretch. Let's go for 3, 2, and 1. Bring your head back up through neutral. You can release that right hand, and same thing on the other side. Grab the seat of the chair with the left hand, and then right ear drops towards that right shoulder. And take notice if you're shrugging those shoulders up, relax them down, and hold here. 30 seconds on this side. Nice stretch down the side of your neck. Hopefully releasing some of that tension you might be holding in that area. Maybe 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring your head back up through center. Let's wrap up this quick stretch break with a big inhale and exhale. Inhale those arms up. Exhale them down. And there you go. You moved, you stretched, you took a stand for your health.
Awesome. I actually feel totally reinvigorated. That was very calming. Thank you, Ninette. Could you actually put the link in the chat to that for everyone?
Absolutely. And I actually stood and did a lot of those stretches, which felt really good.
Awesome.
Always an option.
It's really smart. Yes, it is an option. We're always trying to share, just short exercise or relaxation stretching, different links with you at a lot of different meetings so that you can practice it on your own, do it in your own time at your office. But always great. That was an awesome one. I loved it. So I wanted to remind everybody that we are still hoping that you will bring back the sugar sweetened beverage policy to your agency or organization. Really it's just committing to healthy options at your office and at meetings that you have there. Or host there, and really it's no added sugar or artificial sweeteners in beverages. So choices we encourage are water, seltzer, coffee, tea, 100% natural fruit juice with no added sugar, or 100% fruit juice with no added sugar diluted with water or seltzer, even better. And I believe the health department, if you do commit to this, still has water bottles that they will give you for Healthy Ulster County if you fill that out. And where can you find this? You can find it, and I'm just going to show this to you really quickly, only because it's also where meeting minutes are located. So it's always good to know that you can find the meeting minutes, but also you can find this policy there. So let me just share that screen. This is on our Cornell Cooperative Extension website. And after this, I will grab it and put the URL in the chat. But I just wanted to show you that not only is the healthy beverage policy there, you can click on it here and reach that. This is where you find all of the meeting notes and recordings and PowerPoint presentations for the Healthy Ulster Council. So you can see it's under the Healthy Communities and Healthy Ulster Council tab there. And if I were to click on the Healthy Ulster Council sweetened sugar beverage policy, it pops up there and you can download it, fill it out and get it to either myself or Stacy. And then you'll get your water bottles and you'll also be demonstrating and having healthier beverages. So just wanted to share with you where you can find that. And again, I'll put that link in the chat. And we're reaching the part where we want to do some networking in our meeting. So I just want to give you all some, basically some ground rules if you haven't been here before for networking. And let me just move us along. But before I do, I forgot to share, one of the ways that we communicate with you is the Healthy Ulster Google group. If this is your first meeting, I'll be reaching out to you. Also either directly adding you if you do have a access to Google, or I will send you an invite to join the group so that you can get meeting announcements, but also so that you can share your information with each other with this group. It is a way that we communicate and share, things about our programs, events coming up. You can directly send things to the Google group once you are in it. And also reminding everyone that you can bring your program to Healthy Ulster Radio. Just reach out to Stacy and she will, and you can see the contact is